Thy hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn thy commandments. They that fear thee will be glad when they see me, because I have hope in thy word. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. And that thou in faithfulness hast afflicted me. Let I pray thee thy merciful kindness be for my comfort, according to thy word unto thy servant. Let thy tender mercies come unto me, that I may live, for thy law is my delight. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. And that thou in faithfulness hast afflicted me. Let the proud be ashamed, for they dealt perversely with me without a cause. But I will meditate in thy precepts. Let those that fear thee turn unto me, and those that have known thy testimonies. Let those that fear thee turn unto me, and those that have known thy testimonies. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. And that thou in faithfulness hast afflicted me. Let my heart be sound in thy statutes, that I be not ashamed. Oh, let my heart be sound. Oh, let my heart be sound, that I be not ashamed. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. I know, oh Lord, that thy judgments are right. And that thou in faithfulness hast afflicted
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on The Baptist Bias. I'm your host, Pastor Shelley, and we've got a great show this evening. We're going to talk about Zionism in the church, and we have a special guest that's going to be joining us. First, I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Ben the Baptist. How's it going, Ben?
Excited to be here for another edition of The Baptist Bias, ready to spit some truth tonight, but not rapping, just like normal talking.
Well, the most important thing, of course, is the truth, and we always carry a Baptist bias with us. But I'm excited to bring on our guest. He's got a large Instagram account, and he's also got a lot of other accounts. He's always trying to get the truth out there. In fact, that's his name, Holding On to Truth. It's great to have you on the show. How's it going?
Hey guys, really appreciate you having me on, for real. It's actually the first one I've done, and I couldn't have picked a better crew to do it with, to be honest with you. I saw y'all stuff a while ago, and I was just like so excited to finally find some fellow Christians, especially pastors, who are speaking the truth.
A based pastor. I mean, that's hard to find, especially today. But I think Pastor Shelley fits that description.
Well, it's hard to find them because they're banned. That's why it's hard to find them.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
And he is the banned pastor.
Truth, I hate it.
I mean, I think that you I was trying to look you up on TikTok or something. It seems like you have like 7 or 8. I mean, how many accounts have you had on that platform?
Yeah, so I'm on my 5th account, potentially 6th, because I've already got my account striking again or whatever for talking about just what we discussed, normal truths, and actually even further just on stuff that relates, like the data center and things like that. Just normal things, not even referencing that, and they'll still ban me. And so I think it's more they know my face now, and so they're just like, oh, we gotta silence him. He's gonna waken too many people up. So yeah, TikTok definitely and they were bought out by, do you know who? So they
well, didn't they?
Larry Adelson.
Yeah, I'm kind of late to the party on the TikTok app specifically, but weren't you allowed to kind of just say whatever you wanted about Jews at one point?
Yeah. So ironically enough, when China owned it, is because that was the whole thing before. They're like, oh, hey, this is a threat to national security because the Chinese own a huge social media platform here. Yet when it's bought by Larry Adelson and the Zionists, you literally have less free speech than when the CCP owned it. So that's news to me.
That is crazy. And again, just for our audience's sake, just to get a little more background on you, tell us a little bit more about yourself and just kind of why you feel passionate about, spreading the truth.
Yeah, so I'm originally born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where I'm from, and went to a Baptist church growing up, was baptized very early in life, always was close to the Lord. And to be honest with you, I went to a Christian school growing up, and that was really what gave me my fundamental understanding of the Word, in which I know God really used that to allow me to not be deceived so easily, right? And it's because it talks about, I think it's Hosea, it's, my people die for a lack of knowledge. And so I really think that my fundamental understanding of the scriptures early in life really helped me to see through all the lies. And lately, when Trump was put into office, and then seeing the things that weren't being done that many people voted him to do, I started being bold, and I'm like, you know what, I got to speak out for truth and just be bold in the faith, because that's what it calls us to do. And actually, my scripture for my channel is Ephesians 5:11, which is have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness. And it doesn't stop there, but it says rather expose them. So I felt guilty to not do that with the knowledge that I feel like God has given me. And so I feel like it's my duty to, help share and spread with others.
That's great. So you still live in Tennessee area, or?
Yeah, I actually moved back here a few years ago. Ironically enough, when I moved back, my life kind of flipped upside down and was dealing with a lot of health issues. Got diagnosed with several chronic illnesses like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And so that actually sent me on a whole list, or a rabbit hole, whatever you want to say, down the whole pharmaceutical industry side of things, because with what I deal with, the doctor was trying to tell me, hey, your food doesn't have anything to do with it, just take this pill for the rest of your life. So when I moved here, my life kind of completely flipped upside down, and that was 4 years ago. Me and my wife moved here. Kimberly, she's my sweetheart. She's such a trooper, and we're just so happy to be together. But she's been battling it with me, and so when we moved here, our lives got flipped upside down. We just now feel like we're moving in the right direction with what God's got planned for us here, because I feel like my channel, I didn't start it until February of this last year, or of 2026, really posting about these things. And I feel like that's actually why he brought me here, was to awaken this within me and for me to actually see, what's going on. Because it's just once the cat's out of the bag, there's no putting it back in for me.
Well, that's good. If you have any questions that you want us to address or anything you want us to bring up on the show, you can always put it in the comments. We'll be responding to the chat live. And, I want to kind of talk about this Zionism in the church, because you said you had some history in a Baptist church.
Yes.
Is this is like a Southern Baptist church, I assume?
So, yeah, I went to school at, it's called Concord Christian School, and it's an affiliate of First Baptist Concord, which is out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And so that's where I went to school. We went to different Baptist churches growing up, but that was primarily where I went, and we got our education from as well. So,
did you experience a lot of Zionism in some of these churches that you were attending?
Yeah, and unknowingly though, because I didn't realize kind of what that was. It was just natural, like that was just the way it was, you know what I mean? You didn't really know the difference between Zionism and not Zionism at the time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of only understanding Southern Baptist churches as like the only Baptist churches that existed, because I was in Texas, and that's just kind of like what exists there. But now I'm an independent Baptist, so it's a little bit different. But I kind of find that a lot of independent Baptists and Southern Baptists have, a lot of Zionism. It kind of does depend a little bit. Obviously there's variations. I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush, but I do find that a lot of Baptists are heavily influenced by Zionism specifically. And, a lot of people will point to John Nelson Darby, the Scofield translation, different kind of predecessors to this kind of information, but it seems like a lot of seminaries really is where this is coming from as well. And I know that college is very important to the Jew. Specifically, he wants to make sure that the information coming in from the colleges is favorable for him. A lot of Holocaust and information, and just kind of empathetic and sympathetic to the quote plight of the Jews. And it seems like the agenda is strong, and I don't know what the future beholds, because I think Gen Z has been pushing back on this some. I think college is becoming unaffordable for a lot more, and so they're looking and seeking more alternatives. So I'm kind of curious, like from your opinion, do you feel like they're losing this battle, even though they've infiltrated all these institutions? Do you feel like we're actually seeing momentum in the other direction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I especially think so, just because of the generational change that's taking place with the boomers and baby boomers kind of leaving positions of power slowly but surely. It opens up the doorway for us to actually see this for what it really is. And as you mentioned before, I mean, they have infiltrated from the jump. You look at I think Theodore Herzl is his name, the father of Zionism, essentially, who was a Jew but also an atheist, and then helped fund Scofield's reference Bible, which, if I'm remembering that correctly, which is even more interesting. So I certainly think that the tide is changing. I see the shift. I'm just praying that more and more eyes are open, because the irony is that Christ was speaking against these very people. These are the people that he was flipping the tables. And I think the problem is we have a lot of people who are sitting at tables they should be flipping.
Well, and I'm kind of curious from your journey, especially since you said that maybe not until February you kind of have really taken this on. Like what in the Bible, or did you see something in the Bible that kind of changed your mind, or was it stuff outside the Bible and then you went to the Bible? Kind of describe your journey as to why you how you
on this issue. I think for a while, as far as the Zionism side goes, I've been more aware. I just saw and I felt like so many people were dropping the ball on this. So many people who people looked up to for information, for truth, weren't actually giving it to them. And so that's really what kind of sparked my, willingness to do so. And then in addition, I don't, it's impossible for me to understand how we as Christians are supposed to support the Antichrist, and support the Antichrist spirit, and support those who believe these horrible things about what's happening with Christ, and that we read in the Talmud, And so it's like, it's just, it blows my mind. It's like this level of, it's just crazy to me. I don't. That's what really brought me in, as I was like, I can't no longer speak out because this is going to affect a ton of people. And I felt pressured by the Lord to do it. I think in Ezekiel 33, it talks about watchmen on the watchtower. And then again, like I said, with Ephesians 5:11 about how, have nothing to do with fruitless deeds of darkness, but expose it. So I read that one day, and that was pretty much like a massive slap in the face. I was like, okay, he's like, hey, you know what's going on. You got to speak out. And sure enough, since then, I've been able to, I have roughly 165,000 on Instagram, about 40,000 on Facebook. TikTok, if they actually let me be on there, I'll probably be at 100 plus, but they don't like that. And I just started on Twitter as well. So just getting things going and excited to see what God's doing with it.
And I want to get your opinion on this too, Ben, but do you have a verse or two that you like to go to, Holden? If someone's, curious about this topic of Zionism or why you're against it, like what's kind of like your go-to verse, or what would you like to point to?
Yeah, so I think for me, what breaks it down pretty well, several, but I think it's Galatians 3:28 through 29, where Paul breaks down about how, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, there's neither slave nor free, there's neither male nor female. There's just one in Christ, right? So that to me is the biggest thing. Like after when Christ came, that was what you're either in him or you're not. I just don't have this. I don't understand how people, you could walk up to the average Christian Zionist, I feel like, and be like, hey, if someone believes in Christ, will they get eternal life? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then, but they still think someone who denies Christ, who says he's burning in his own excrement in the Talmud, is somehow God's chosen, and we should support everything that they do. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my church was very pro-Israel. And I think that, me personally, while I heard it a lot, I don't think it really sank in, and I don't think I cared enough. Because in general, I think what they do is they just kind of like talked about, hey, there's a war over in the Middle East, and the other side's a bunch of, magic carpet riding, turban wearing freaks or something. Yeah. And so and you're just kind of like, well, I don't really like those people, so I guess I don't really care. But they're not right. They weren't really showing that much in the Bible. And I think Genesis 12 was gratuitously posited, but not really anything else. But I mean, even though I heard that a lot, like if someone asked me, like, are you pro-Israel? I probably would have been like, I don't know, or I don't really thought about it, I guess. For some people, it's pretty natural. Ben over here being, I guess his parents are at least from Lebanon. He was born in New Jersey, supposedly. I don't know, but it's probably more natural for him. But, what are some verses you go to, Ben, when talking about the Zionism issue?
Well, Jesus himself said in Matthew 21, the kingdom of God shall be taken from you and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. So the Old Testament nation of Israel that at one point were God's people, they were used by God. Jesus says, hey, New Testament, that's no more. You failed. And ultimately, the straw that broke the camel's back was the fact that they killed Jesus. And then, you look at Romans 9, where the Bible says they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Again, just making the point that not everybody that calls themselves Israel actually is, but they're actually, in reality, there's a spiritual seed, there's a spiritual nation of Israel, and they are truly God's people. Additionally, the Bible uses very vitriolic language about the Jews, calling them liars. It says in 1 John 2:22, I should say, who is a liar, but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ, he is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. So when you combine all of those things, the fact that the Bible makes it clear that there has been a replacement between the Old Testament and the New Testament, the physical Israel and the spiritual Israel which replaced it, consisting of believers, no matter what their ethnicity is. And then you look at the fact that there's some very vitriolic language used against the Jews in several different places. Matthew 23, of course. I brought up 1 John 2, 1 Thessalonians 2, verses 14 and 15 also.
Which they want to ban, by the way.
They want to ban that, and it says that the Jews are contrary to all men, also rightfully places the blame on them for killing Jesus. The totality of all those scriptures, I think, makes it clear that, the Jews are not God's chosen people. It actually is believers.
So basically, you would just appeal to the entire New Testament.
Right. For me, Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 were huge too, because it's the synagogue of Satan. Like, for me, why are we going to believe that the nation state of Israel, right, the new people, God's chosen people, that the Rothschilds through the Balfour Declaration are the ones who usher that in? The synagogue of Satan are the ones who usher that in? I mean, and like you're saying, all the countless scriptures, he told them to their face, "You're of your father, the devil. There's no truth in you." And that's why they hated him so much. And then when they even did kill him, when he said, "Let their blood be on our children," right? After they...
Yes.
Yeah, so it's...
Well, and you mentioned the Lebanese, and it is... I love ethnic jokes. I think it's great, and so...
we try to make them at your expense.
I know. Look, I'm totally cool with it. But I wanted to say on a serious note, though, that it is a personal thing a little bit too. And I think most Lebanese people would share my position, which is that Israel is slaughtering not just the Palestinians, but they are slaughtering by the thousands the Lebanese people. And it was only last month, I believe. Yeah, it was last month when a high-ranking official in the Israeli government, Ben Gvir, put out on X, all of Lebanon must burn, and that he wants to make Lebanese women widows. He wants to kill Lebanese children. So you have officials in the Israeli government, like their defense minister or something like that, who's just out in the open publicly stating, genocide all these people. So yeah, it is going to be a little bit personal for me because I have family still living there. I have, people I know who have suffered as a result of this murderous, bloodthirsty regime, which, by the way, has killed over 70,000 people in Gaza since 2023 alone, and that's a conservative number. So if you don't want to, if you're somebody out there who wants to just not listen to the word of God, well, then why don't you just open your eyes and ears to what's happening politically with political Zionism and just how murderous it is?
Well, I don't understand this because it seemed like the conservative talking point to get around the Palestinian genocide was October 7. But are they now going to claim that Lebanon is also responsible for that? Or like what is the justification to just nuke and burn all of Lebanon at this point? And so, again, it doesn't even seem like they care anymore about the narrative. It seems like they've lost the narrative at this point.
Two words.
And they're simply just going full speed. I mean...
Greater Israel, that's the...
Yeah, sure.
Yep. There it is.
But again, they want to combine our militaries. Like, this is actually voted on by our government to potentially combine military forces with this foreign nation. I mean, this is absurd. Let alone, one of the things that bothers me about Zionism that doesn't make any sense either, and I don't know how they could explain this, is, even if you thought that the Jews were somehow special or better than other people for some reason, which is totally contrary to everything in the Bible, why would we still not be allowed to just expose just bad things about them? Like, if they are just the ones that own all of the adult industry films, and if they are the ones who are controlling our government, and if they are the ones influencing all of our politicians, and they are committing these genocides, like, and they're having the largest LGBTQ festival, the biggest faggot festival in the world. Like, why would we not be allowed to call that out? I mean, even God's people, Israel, is called out for their sin repeatedly in the Bible. So even if you were to go back to a period in time where you could say, this is God's chosen people, this is the nation of Israel for sure. We're not even questioning their Khazarian descent or something like that. We simply just point out their sin. And I'm like, why would I now, far removed from that, with all the problems and baggage they have, still not be able to call out their sin, and they act like we're somehow bad for this or something. Like, oh, you just think they're bad because of the fact that they're in control of every adult industry and controlling our government and genociding people and murderous and liars. You think they're bad because of that? And you're like, yeah. Like, why would I not think they're bad? Like,
I mean, Christ said, "Know them by their fruits." Like, what are these? This is the most evident thing ever, and how many people just say on the Christian Zionist side, who are really wolves in sheep clothing, hey, I love Christ. And that's just a pass for so many people to be like, oh, hey, I can trust that. I can trust that man, right? And that's why we have to know them by their fruits. We have to get into the word. We have to know the scriptures ourselves. That's why I'm about a real relationship with Christ, because it's the only thing that will allow us to not be deceived. And that's why I'm so adamant about sharing Christ's message. And that's why they hate him so much, is because he reveals their wicked deeds. He shows them who they really are.
To me, it's just absurd to pontificate about how much you love the Lord Jesus Christ while also pedestalizing those who hate the Lord Jesus Christ the most. When you look at every false religion out there in the world, Judaism is, bar none, the most hateful. You mentioned it earlier in the broadcast when you bring up what they believe, the blasphemous garbage that they teach about Jesus that's so horrific, it's hard for me to even repeat.
Right.
But, think about it in any other context. Your wife, would you really want to say nice things about somebody that has a vicious hatred for your wife? No normal man would want that. But then people will claim that they love Jesus, and then they're just like, oh, but the Jews are wonderful and great, and we need to celebrate them, and it's wrong to ever criticize them. And to me, those are just inconsistent ideologies, and they conflict with one another.
When you see the direct impact of AIPAC, if we're actually bringing to our government bills to vote on combining military forces, how do we not see the direct conflict of allowing these individuals to have influence over our government? Plus, I don't even understand how this makes sense logically. Like, why would we allow any politician to accept money from any foreign agency for any reason whatsoever? Like, that should just be immediately. And
they don't, but they don't even register under the FARA Act. Like, that's what's crazy, is they don't even register under the FARA Act.
Yeah, I think politically it's pretty obvious we are occupied. And I know there's a documentary named that from Stu Peters. But, I think you look at America's foreign policy decisions as of late especially, and it just underscores that point even more. Donald Trump recently signed an MOU, or at least he was pushing for an MOU to be signed with Iran, but it would include, or I should say, the Iranian proposal was that Israel would stop bombing Lebanon. They refused, and so the whole thing collapsed, and Trump went right back to engaging in military conflict with Iran and going right back to war with Iran. So my point is this: who's really in charge? It's obviously Israel. Israel's the one telling him what to do. This is a war for Israel. It's a war for Israeli interests. It's a war for Israeli expansionism in the Middle East. It's a war for taking out the enemies of Israel as well in that region. That's all this is. And it's just so blatant when Trump is just acting on behalf of the Israeli government. When they tell him, no, we're not going to sign this, we're not interested in peace, he goes right back to war again because he's a puppet.
Well, it looks online that Thomas Massey had voted against that legislation, but all 50 Senate Republicans voted in favor. I think we have a screenshot. I guess it's a video.
This was in the House,
but
right?
The video has the list of the names. Yeah, well, specifically, it says Senate Democrats have blocked the Republican-backed National Defense Authorization Act. It then has a list.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 46. 3/5 of the Senate duly chosen and sworn, not having voted.
It's showing all the names of all the Republicans here.
Yeah,
the majority
I don't think we have
leader,
to listen to the audio.
Mr. President, I have a motion to
audio,
reconsider.
Yeah, from what I know, that they voted on that that particular report in the Senate last week, and it didn't get the 60 votes that it needed to clear. And so now what they're doing, of course, is they're going back into the House, repurposing it under the Save America Act bill, and then using that as the Trojan horse to add in the NDAA Section 219.
So there's a big
interesting timing with the Odyssey movie.
Yeah.
Look over here,
right.
trannies and blacks in a movie.
Yeah.
It's like,
Helen of Troy is black. Okay.
So if you look at the list
they were
of
fighting
names,
over had to keep her, not who had to.
Can we pull the list of names up again? Something just caught my eye about the list of names that is actually quite surprising to me. Is that in alphabetical order there?
I think so, by last
Let's go to
name.
the P section. Yep,
Rand Paul.
Rand
Wow.
Paul voted.
Yep.
Rand's not
Rand
wrong.
Paulenstein.
Good night.
Yeah, that's disappointing to me. I'm a Rand Paul fan, and it is disappointing to see him vote that way on that bill. So he's moving in the wrong direction. Clearly,
Maybe Fauci finally got to him.
Apparently.
Senator Paul, you don't know 6 Gorillion Jews just died last week alone.
Right.
Oh man, the 6
From
million. Oof. Yeah, that's another forced lie, huh?
That's a whole nother
Go to
can
that.
of worms.
I mean, you got to ask this question: when have the Jews ever told the truth? Like it seems
Never.
like every narrative has some. I mean, U.S. liberty, 9/11, Titanic, the Holocaust.
When they're not talking.
Revolution. If you look into actual American gangs and all the stuff that's going on there, it's just like, when have they ever told the truth?
Even if you want to base, that's when they really tell the truth. But even if you want to base that number, say that's true, nobody talks about the 60 million that died in the Bolshevik Revolution, 60 million Christians from 1970 to 1945.
There's like 9 million Germans that were slaughtered after World War II. So how about that? And of course, that's by the Jews because it's by the Russians, but Bolshevik Revolution, it's by the Jews. So, which one was worse? Was it the 6 million supposedly, or how about the 9 million Germans that died post World War II? And again, that's not including all the Germans that just died through the war. We're talking about after the war, them just taking women and children and old men and just dragging them out and just brutally murdering them and killing them in the most savage ways imaginable. And then it's just like gas chambers. It's just like,
that's why Patton. Yeah, sorry. That's why Patton said that we fought on the wrong side of the war. So our top general says we fought on the wrong side of the war, and then as soon as he gets done saying that, 6 months later he dies.
I guess you just have to be Bobby Fischer and eventually figure it out. I don't know, but it's kind of frustrating. The apathy bothers me because I get that there's bad actors. I don't expect them to not be a bad actor. Like, I don't expect our politicians to get this right. They're all paid. They're all traitors, in my opinion. They're all treasonous. They're all traitors. Yep. They don't care about the Constitution whatsoever. They're all fake. And I don't necessarily expect the Democrats to get this right. It's in some ways they're even more correct than the Republicans in a weird.
Well, at least it's an
world.
enemy I know. It's like with them, it's an enemy I know. With the Republicans, I'm like, you got Rand Paulenstein over here who's going to switch up on you as soon as some money comes in from AIPAC. I'm like, bro, the heck, your father's ashamed of you.
I'm kind of surprised that the Democrats haven't folded on this issue. Like they're almost more honest with their campaign promises than the Republicans. Like what they say they're going to do, they actually kind of do. It's just we just don't like what they say. It's like they tell us what they're going to do, and we're like, well, we don't want that, but they're actually going to try and do that. With the Republicans, they never do what they say, and it's just always, like you said, a Trojan horse here, where they're basically promising one thing, pretending to be your friend. I mean, Trump was making campaign promises like, you're going to be so tired of winning, and we're going to fix the economy, and everybody's going to be so rich.
No new wars.
It's just like, no new wars. So we're in wars. No one's winning. Everything's more expensive than ever before. Our economy is complete trash. He's like more pro-Israel than ever before. I mean, like, there's zero swamp. He brought more swamp creatures in than he's gotten rid of. I mean, who has even gotten rid of? And his FBI director has just been a disaster the entire time. Is it Kash Patel now? Like, it was Bondi first, and now it's Patel? Or I can't remember the exact order of operations here. But basically,
Bondi was the AG, and then now
oh, you're right. Bondi was the AG. But she's out, isn't she?
And then now who we have, she's out as AG, and now we have Todd Blanche, who literally just runs with what Trump said, which is Epstein's a hoax, even though his wife has a press conference and says the victims will have their day in court or day in Congress. I'm like, this is just insane.
Yeah, his handling of the Epstein files was just disastrous.
Well, and didn't Elon Musk even call him out? And they had almost like a mini falling out, and then all of a sudden it just went away or something. I feel like it was. He said if Elon's doing Doge, calls him out on Epstein, and then all of a sudden Doge is gone, Elon's gone, and now all of a sudden we're like full bore Israel.
Yeah, we were supposed to get checks at one point. I thought maybe from
Trump
something.
bucks.
Somebody was supposed to get. Yeah.
And then you have tariffs, which
Trump coin.
Has pissed a lot of people off as well. It's just been a disaster, to be honest with you. Trump's second term, in my opinion, and I think spearheaded by the ultra Zionism from Zion Dawn in this term. It's been really.
Well, if you don't have a direct response to tariffs, it's stupid. Like if you're not going to say like, hey, we're going to offset everybody's taxes, like you're going to get a tariff like $5,000 credit on your taxes this year, and then we're going to bring in tariffs, then you're like, okay, this can make sense. We're helping like pay off some of our money through foreign interests or something like this, and it'll just kind of help in general. But by no offset, by no reduction in taxes, then the tariffs is just an extra tax. Just like it's just another tax on top of all the other taxes. It's just not the word tax. And it's in a sense, here's the thing that sucks about tariffs: is they're a hidden tax. So of course the government loves it way more because on the spreadsheet it doesn't show up that we're being taxed more, even though we actually are being taxed more because it's a hidden tax that you don't get to see. So it's just kind of a nasty way to just basically get more money for their politicians, which I saw a video, and I don't know if I'm going to find this or not, but it was RFK. Someone was talking to him yesterday or recently about the corruption in our government and just how our budget was out of control. And he was saying that there was like $100 billion that's stolen every year just from HHS alone. So they were just saying like everybody, he was saying like there's like hotels where each hotel room supposedly has like 30 people that live in it, and they're all getting a Medicare check, which of course the hotel has 0 people living in it. So it's just like 30 people live in each one of these hotel rooms, so they're all getting a Medicare check. And then he said not only that, but then they register a business in the same hotel room that supposedly sells medical equipment like wheelchairs and whatever kind of medical equipment people buy, and they're selling it. So then they're supposedly, again, Medicare is paying for this medical equipment to be sent to these people on Medicare. But again, the company doesn't exist, the equipment doesn't exist, the people don't exist. It's just hundreds of billions of dollars just being funneled to who knows who through the HHS in our government. And it's like you wonder like why we're in such a deficit. It's like probably because we don't account for all the fraud and all the theft and all the other crazy stuff whenever they're creating these budgets. They're probably creating these budgets at like a 99%, whatever the money is, and then they're stealing just so much that it's just like, that's why we're always over budget and always just like, it's out of control. And then they have to print more money, which doesn't actually solve any problems.
That sounds like the Somali...
I'm really mad about our government.
Hey, Pastor, that sounds like the Somali childcare.
How is it different?
It's the same thing.
Well, but this is what happens. It gets exposed, and then what happened?
Nothing.
Has anybody been arrested? Have we fixed it? Have we taken anybody? Is anybody accountable?
I
think the guy that exposed it got in trouble or something.
We complain about it on the internet is what happened.
Right.
Well, we watch World Cup.
That's true.
And then the Odyssey.
Well, the guys, China's the enemy now. Didn't you know that? That we're being overrun by China. Apparently, that's what they're saying now. I'm like, and that's another thing. Even if you want to say that's the case, why has there been no arrests on that? Like, there's just nothing. It's literally just here's another lie, and here's something else we're not going to do and fall through.
Well, that's something that Trump is great at, is he could point out the 2020 election is stolen all day long, which, okay, awesome. You are the president of the United States. Is there not anything that could be done about that? Is there not a single arrest that could be made? Is there not a single reform that could be made?
Yeah, let's not investigate that.
Is there a kind of investigation that could be done? No, it's just I'm going to whine about it, and it's almost like he's powerless to do anything.
But think about it. He didn't do that while he was president because he was the active president while the theft happened. Now he's president again, and he's still not doing anything about it. And why would that not be of the utmost concern? And why is it, here's the thing. Why is Twitter flooded with some stupid movie, the Odyssey and World Cup, and nobody cares about our military? Nobody cares about, just the constant issues that we're facing, all these Jewisms. I mean, I'm just like, it's just the apathy and the appetite for truth on this issue is frustrating. But I get it. I think some people are disenfranchised, and I can feel that way. It's just like, what do you do? I mean, this is like, there's so much corruption in sight.
We're homeless politically, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's no one to really support anymore. And even the few people that we like really hold our nose at, let's be honest, they're not even that great. I kind of like Thomas Massey. Like, he's kind of the only one, but he got voted out. He got primaried, I think.
Right. He got APAC'd.
I'm curious, what is your opinion on this, Holden? Obviously you've decided to go online, you decided to make videos, but what can people do? Like, do you feel disenfranchised? I mean, like, what is the solution here from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel politically like I don't have a home, that's for sure. But I think spiritually I have a home, and it's really what's actually strengthened me is that I've never thought that the system was going to somehow offer up the solution, and I just feel like I just knew, like Christ says, in this world you will have many troubles, but take heart, I've overcome the world. Like this just isn't our home, and it's not in a doom and gloom way. I think the best thing that I've found with doing this and speaking out is the ability to be able to build a community, and that's what I want to do, is just build a community with like-minded people who are able to help each other out, and we can all help each other learn and grow truth, and not to fall into these traps, man, because there's so many bread and circuses, like the World Cup or whatever it is. Hey, go watch this trash movie with a bunch of trannies in it. It's insane. And then they try to act like that's a wonderful film or something. They shove it down our throats 24/7. It's just terrible on that end. But I think how we overcome this is, as we overcome, it says in Scripture, it says with the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so just continuing to spread the truth, continuing to speak what is true, and just trust that God's going to do the rest. And that's very hard for me, to be honest, because I'm 31 years old. Me and my wife have been married for going on 6 years in November, and we don't have a family yet in regards of children, and that's something that we certainly want, and I know God wants that for us, and I'm sure there's other people out there who are struggling and feeling the same ways, certainly in our economy. I mean, my gosh, price of everything is ridiculous. So, but I just would say what comforts me, and I hope it's a comfort to others, is when Christ says, look at the birds of the air, they don't have a place to store anything. They don't have storehouses, yet your heavenly Father provides for them daily. So He'll always do that for me. He's always done it for me forever, and he'll never stop, and he'll never stop for anybody else.
I think Andrew Torba's an interesting voice. I haven't heard him a lot lately. I don't know, maybe it's just not in the same circles or something, but he's always talked about balkanization. And, I think in some ways what you're speaking to also speaks to this. It's almost like a spiritual balkanization, that you're focusing in on church, you're focusing in on the people that are receptive, the people that do want to hear, trying to build those relationships. And so even though, I mean, in reality, we can't all do something politically anyways. That's never going to be the case, right? So we can only reach the people that we have opportunity to reach. And of course, that's obviously our mission as well, is to preach the gospel locally, do missions trips, be involved in our church heavily. But I try to get online. It's been hard for me, just considering how much I've been censored and banned. But, at the end of the day, like, I would love to offer real solutions too. I don't want to just completely abandon our country and not tell them what they should do, even though they may not do it. I mean, even though it's probably just hot air. But like the Bible says, like, occupy till I come. And I'm just like, as long as we can keep America afloat, we don't die. Like, I'm just thinking, like, we're on the Titanic, I feel like, but I'm just like, I don't really necessarily want to just add more water to the ship while we're going down. Like, if we can at least just like stay afloat longer, like that, at least just like it's positive in some way. Like, Ben, you voted for Trump. Obviously, to me, that's kind of like just throwing a little bit of water over the ship that's sinking. But I'm just kind of curious, like, I don't want to give up on America entirely, but I get it. Like, what else do you do but just focus on your current environment? What is your answer to this, Ben?
Well, I'd vote again if there was somebody worth voting for. There's
J.D. Vance.
There's no. James Fishback comes to mind as somebody that seems to represent.
Is he Catholic?
I have no idea.
Okay.
He seems to represent some kind of new era where modern conservatives are starting to speak out against Israel a little bit. And I think that if there is a positive through all of this, it's that I don't think I've seen more people wake up to the Israeli issue than I have right now. Like, and I think that there's a generational divide, and I want to get your take on this. There seems to be a generational divide between the boomers who were promised that the Jews would come back in unbelief and then magically get converted, which is how Zionism was originally sold. And then, of course, that never happened. Generations have passed, and they die and go to hell continually. But my point is that these boomers have clung to that, whereas there's a new generation that's risen up in the conservative movement that have deciding, no, we repudiate this. We don't want this. We truly are America first, meaning we're not going to allow a foreign country to dictate our foreign policy and domestic policy as well. But what do you think about this generational divide that's happened?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it. I've experienced it myself. I think a big thing too is just how that generation has, not that they didn't have to work hard or suffer for things, but the ability to be able to purchase basic things like food, water, shelter, start a family, and all these things was accessible to them. So they weren't necessarily looking at what's causing these problems around the world. Whereas with us, we're thrusted into, we can't afford to purchase our own home. We can't afford to do any of these things. And so that alone makes us look around us and say, okay, hey, what's causing this? Why is this not affordable for us? And then you just see, like we talked about earlier with the Federal Reserve, well, that was a whole Zionist-funded movement from the jump. Once you control a nation's monetary supply, then they're no longer a nation at that point. And so I've seen the generational divide and the gap. I think the way to try to talk to them about it is obviously with scriptures, but what I've found is that generation, unless you have, like for me, I didn't go to seminary school. I didn't go do all these things and get all these different degrees. I just know the word from reading it myself. And so they are less likely to believe me when I have to say, the Zionist state of Israel is not who we should be supporting at all. And so that has been difficult for me. I think as time goes on, it's harder and harder for them to defend the actions of Israel. I mean, it's, as you were saying in Lebanon, I mean, I've made so many videos on this, actually covering the things that are going on in Lebanon as well, because it's absolutely mind-blowing to me that someone who is a boomer, a baby boomer Zionist can't see that the genocide of people is evil and that we shouldn't be supporting it. Like, I don't know where they can eventually find that out or come to the conclusion of it, unless it's, because the reality is it's Gaza today, Lebanon, tomorrow, and then it's our homes in the United States, not too far long after that, in my opinion.
Someone in the chat, 21 Trips, said the solution is local elections politically. Focus on what you can affect. I think that there's some value in that. I'm not against voting entirely, but at the end of the day, it just seems like most elections I'm blackpilled on, to say the least. Even when you do vote people in, I just feel like the constituency isn't good enough for politics to change. I think that's the problem. And I think that's why, it's important to have many people out there preaching the gospel and trying to bring people back to a normal version of Christianity, one that doesn't just reject virtually the entire New Testament that you quoted there, Ben, on just the nation of Israel. Because if they're wrong on the nation of Israel, you're going to have to ask the question, like, what else are they wrong on? And I think that a lot of people are just very apathetic to the Bible, to reading, to learning about Christianity. Obviously, it's been said before, bread and circuses is all that's needed to basically just control the nation. And I kind of worry that we're still in that cycle of bread and circuses, and it's going to be too late. I went to Buc-ee's on my way back from church Sunday night, and I kid you not, there was like dozens, if not 100 Muslims in the Buc-ee's, and it just like vexes my soul to see something like that, because I'm just thinking, like, how are we not just recognizing as Christians that we're just losing in every category? Like Muslims, like these women are wearing these ridiculous outfits, just like publicly. They were doing the call to prayer in the parking lot. I was playing basketball with some guys the other day, and I saw some Muslims. They're doing the call to prayer, like just in the middle of the basketball game. They just quit the basketball game. And they're just like doing it in the middle of the basketball court. and I'm just sitting and thinking, like, here's people that are just, they're willing to be like just completely ridiculous for their religion out in public. And it's just like Christians just don't care at all.
But they're sad.
Like, Christians just like have like
ashamed,
gumption
Zeal.
anymore. And it's
No zeal.
it's just frustrating because if all the Christians were just like vocal and stating their beliefs and had as much conviction as these Muslims and stuff, like things would change rapidly. Politics is downstream of the culture in many ways. It just doesn't seem like the people want it.
Well, it starts in the church house.
I don't know how to wake them up. I appreciate, people like Holden and others that are at least trying to get some information out there, trying to get some truth out there because, it seems like we need a mass awakening. We need a lot of people to figure out the truth on this issue.
It's going to happen in church, though, and unfortunately, so many, and I would actually say the vast majority of churches are totally brainwashed on this issue. And given that is kind of the main topic of the stream tonight, I'm curious if you could share maybe some experiences that you've had with churches. I would imagine you've tried to find one, and I'm sure they're all Zionist, but I don't know. Maybe there have been some that aren't. What's your experience been like in looking for a church?
Yeah, well, certainly that is definitely the case. I actually haven't been able to find anything around here, which is why I was actually so enthusiastic when I saw your clip that I first made a while back about you speaking out and speaking boldly against this, because I was like, this is not common, right? This is very hard to find. Most of the time it's, we need to pray for, I've been in churches where we're like praying for the IDF, praying for Netanyahu, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why are we praying
IDF that
for...
kills children, that murders children? Sorry.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. And I remember, coming to the awareness and conclusion of this, and I'm like, okay, even if the pastor of that church isn't completely sold out to Zionism and is just, geofencing his members to be able to send that information to the IDF, then he's not someone who should be leading me, because if I'm feeling led by, or if I'm feeling the Holy Spirit press this on me like I'm being seared, then, and if they're not, then this is just clearly not the place for me to be. And so me and my wife are actually very frustrated we haven't been able to find anywhere like this, or anywhere that actually speaks these truths. And like we said, if they go back to the seminaries when they control our education system, in the church, essentially, then of course we're at this point where we believe that the state of Israel is who they say they are.
And some of these churches are outrageous. You look at somebody who I believe is actually a total false teacher named Greg Locke. He gets up, he's blowing the shofar, he's draped in an Israeli flag.
Where's he at? Is he?
He's in Tennessee. He's in his neck of the woods. That's why I brought him up.
I was thinking like he might be close to him.
Yeah, I actually made a video on him, calling him out big time. And so I had the first part of it was Rick Wiles. He was speaking out against all the Zionism and all this stuff. And then I was like, but instead of people promoting him, we're promoted and we get pastors like Greg Locke, and then I show him talking about we need to turn Gaza into a parking lot. And everybody's cheering. I'm like, it's beyond the pale. Like, yeah. Yeah, and didn't Christ say, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God? What?
And also, it's a spiritual battle.
Was he like a recently arrested or something?
Greg Locke?
I think so.
No,
I think so. July 2026, the FBI raided Greg Locke. It says approximately 60 federal agents raided his home and searched the offices of Locke Media as a part of an investigation into allegations, including misappropriation of church funds. It says they seized electronic devices, financial records. He's denied any wrongdoing. I don't know what's going on with that, but I was just...
Okay, you're right. This happened recently.
I think it happened
like a day
month.
ago.
Wow.
I'm seeing an article from 1 day ago. Raid on Pastor Locke's home, part of IRS. I don't know.
I think there was other allegations of wrongdoing that...
Well, hey...
here's the thing. I despise Greg Locke. Like, I dislike everything about him. I dislike his face. I dislike everything that he says. The fact that he ran off from his wife and just married the secretary. And because he's a false prophet, I believe he's capable of literally anything, including bestiality, pedophilia, and all this stuff. I just don't want to. I don't want to necessarily say that it's for sure true or that the FBI is always legit. But of course, if he's guilty, I sure hope they throw the book at him. But it's just like, because obviously I think a good person could be targeted or lied about or something like that. But I mean, these guys are super wicked, super evil, and usually for the FBI to throw the book at you and to come after you with this much vitriol, you know, either A, you're like pissing them off severely, or B, you're actually super guilty. I have no idea how we'd be pissing them off. So, you know, to me, like the alternative.
To be as pro-Israel as he is, why would he be pissing them off?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the current administration in place. It doesn't scream persecution to me.
Honestly, it's kind of surprising that he's being targeted. It must have been really bad. It must be like egregious or something. But this is like the only person I've even heard of it being going after or being targeted. It's usually like a white guy defends himself against a black, you know, violent person that gets arrested, or a police officer against a black man or something. Like these are like the only few arrests that we've even like heard about or even have, or January 6ers or something. It's like there's really no one else in our country to arrest. There's no one to investigate.
People like him really, to be honest with you, are, I'm not just trying to harp on them, but are the worst, because they appear to you as angels of light. They try to deceive. Like, they're the master manipulator, psychopaths, narcissists who purposely seek these positions to have limited transparency and to have unlimited authority. And that's what people like him do. I mean, when you're telling people to cheer on the genocide of another people group, you have no soul.
Yeah. Well, he's just regurgitating, honestly, what Israel itself says. I mean, I have a quote for you from a prominent Israeli journalist on one of their big news channels out there, Shimon Ricklin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he says, "I am for the war crimes. I'm unable to sleep at night if I do not see houses being destroyed in Gaza. I want to see more of them destroyed." Well, this is the kind of rhetoric that they espouse over on Israeli television. Greg Locke essentially saying the exact same thing, wanting to turn it into a parking lot. So they're all of the same spirit, these people. The ultra-Zionist, false prophets like Greg Locke, and the Jews themselves.
Well, I grew up in a church, Trinity Fellowship Church, and they had sponsored a church here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Gateway. And Gateway was one of the largest, if not the largest churches in America just a few years ago, boasting of like 100,000 attendees. And then, of course, their pastor, Robert Morris, gets caught and exposed for being a literal pedophile, and that he had been a pedophile for like 4 years, and he went to prison. And of course, he had Trump come and parade his entire campaign through their church, super pro-Israel, about as pro-Israel you could possibly be. And then it's, again, pedophile. You know, it's the connection between Israeli promoters and pedophiles has got to be really high. Like statistical anomaly here. You know, a Jeffrey Epstein type anomaly when you see this kind of correlation. But again, that's what the Bible warns in 2 Peter chapter 2 and Jude, that the false teachers, the false prophets, that they have eyes full of adultery, they cannot cease from sin, they're beguiling unstable souls. So again, this is this predatory practice, and so they have no reason not to just take all of this dirty money, all of this blood money, and then just scream at the top of their lungs, turn Gaza into a parking lot. And it's really gross. And you see, like, I think there's some people on this issue that are not inherently bad, but they are screwed up. And one of those was Charlie Kirk. I don't think that Charlie Kirk was necessarily a bad guy, but he was definitely wrong in this issue for sure. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are. You know, a lot of people think that he was kind of changing. And I know there is definitely clips of him just saying, like, I don't know about this October 7th stuff. I don't know if the government's, like, legit. Like, he was at least asking questions. And even that's usually not tolerated. Do you think that Charlie Kirk was actually killed for some of his changing of opinions here, or for not accepting the money from Benjamin Netanyahu? Or what do you think is going on there?
I mean, I find that way more likely than what the current narrative is, just because the current narrative literally, I mean, makes no sense. You have former SEAL Team 6 snipers like Rob O'Neill saying it couldn't have been a 30-06 that killed him. But besides that point, he was going against the Israeli lobby before he was killed. He was actually afraid that they were going to kill him before this took place. There's multiple text messages in regards to that. In addition, he was totally against the war in Iran, which I think would actually be more of a point beforehand, because I mean, he was totally against any escalation in Iran. He was actually against the strikes, the preemptive strikes that were supposed to destroy their nuclear program, which now we're over there for that again. But, so he was against all of these things. And I do believe he was awakening to the Zionist takeover in this country. And if he awoken to that, how quickly he would be able to let everyone else awake to it is why, in my opinion, you got to take him out for that. So.
Well, things that are interesting about Charlie Kirk, he seems like he could have been someone that made a transition into politics very easily if you decided to run for a very, prominent position, even president. So, you kind of wonder, like, is he taken out because he does? I mean, his Turning Point USA was very effective. A lot of people were being reached. A lot of young people were out there. And one of the things about Charlie Kirk, even if he wasn't necessarily right on this issue, he would go to college campuses and he would let the other side sometimes talk. Like, he would allow sometimes them to have those questions, because I've seen a lot of just like YouTube videos and whatever where people are saying, what about 9/11, Charlie? And what about the Holocaust? And what about these things? And even just entertaining that conversation just pisses a lot of people off. Just having that organic conversation, because they realize that the facts don't really side with the Zionist agenda, and so they don't even want the conversation to be had. You're not allowed to even discuss it, platform it, bring it up. It's just too negative. And, with Charlie Kirk's passing, a lot of weird things happened. You kind of have like the memorial site or the specific place just immediately covered up, in a sense. Like, they just immediately like pave over it and just discard it quickly. You have the president of Israel coming out and just immediately denying they did it. Why didn't other nations do that? Why didn't like Russia come out and say like, hey, we just want to make it clear we didn't do it? Or why didn't Mexico's president come out and say that we didn't do it? And there's been plenty of people that die all the time. Like, why does Israel have to come out and say that we didn't do it? And say it because, like, is it possible? Like, is it something you could even do potentially? And it's like how much influence did they have? Even the Candace Owens thing is an angle that I find interesting, because when the Zionism issue started to really break and really started to change, it seems like Kanye West just got like all the attention in the media. It was like everything about Kanye. Kanye met with Donald Trump. Kanye's doing all of these interviews and podcasts. And it's like, if you're anti-Zionist, well, you're a crazy loon like Kanye West or something like that. And then it's like with this Charlie Kirk narrative, it's like, if you have any questions, or if you're kind of like suspicious of anything that happened, it's like, oh, so now you believe that spirits are visiting Candace Owens at night, and Charlie Kirk's visiting at her night and whispering secrets into her ear, right? And it's just like, it almost seems like they prop up a stooge.
Right.
Whenever there's a narrative that's kind of scary, just to kind of distract from anybody asking legitimate questions. I mean, do you believe everything Candace Owens has said now, Ben, because you may be suspicious of something that happened with Charlie Kirk?
I believe none of it. I want to quote Netanyahu, because you mentioned that he denied it. And there may be people out there that are like, I don't know about that. Well, here's the direct quote. He says, quote, the Nazi propaganda minister said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody's fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. So I just wanted to back you up on that. He denied it categorically there, but, I think he is prone to lying. Regarding Candace Owens,
wait.
No, I don't believe anything
the Nazi
she says.
lie, is he referring to Fuentes?
No, Joseph.
Oh, he's quoting some other guy.
Joseph Goebbels or whatever. The Nazi propaganda minister.
But isn't the implication that someone did this to him, and is he's planting it on someone in a sense? Like, that guy didn't come from the grave and spread this lie about Israel in 2025 or whatever. So again, who is the actual Nazi that did that? I'm just showing how that's even a lie. Like, what, quote, Nazi is basically spreading this monstrous lie about him? Because that's kind of the implication that he's making by this quote, is he not?
I think he's linking those who blame Israel for the murder of Charlie Kirk to Nazism. Yeah, that's the only reason why he would bring that up in the context.
I'm just saying because Fuentes is just known for like liking Hitler and saying positive things about Hitler. So then, it's like I don't even think Fuentes is a Nazi. It's just something that's like
Not sure.
a label.
But
the SBLC is funding these Nazis to make it seem like they actually exist, but they don't really exist.
Yeah, and your broader point is sound, though, and I just want to echo that again because it's important for the audience to really understand that there is an agenda to attach something that is true with something that is preposterous, like a lot of the crap that Candace Owens has been saying. You bring up Ye, as he likes to be called now, and I'm curious if the guest has an opinion on that as well, about what we're saying here.
In regards to
just
Candace
the fact
Owens
that
and
Just
they seem
stooges being propped up.
They sneak in like a Trojan horse, or they sneak in a bunch of lies and garbage with the truth. For example, attaching anti-Zionism with Ye, or Candace Owens' wild theories,
or the no planes theory of 9/11.
No planes on 9/11. This kind of stuff. To make it seem like the entire conspiracy is false, when in reality it's just that component of it that they are platforming, which is false.
Right. No, I agree. I think you certainly have gatekeepers that are implanted before a narrative is sent out, or whatever you want to say, to pretty much just play their part. I think they will reveal certain truths, but then they'll throw in crazy lies and all these other things that just deceive the masses. Like, for me, my thing is, I don't believe that it was a lone gunman just based off of what they're telling me, like that he broke apart a 30-06 while he was on the roof within 15 seconds and then hopped off, then re-put it back together out in the wood. Just the narrative, that's what I question on that side. Now, I for sure think that they have many people who are just planted in the industry to then be like, oh, well, you agree with that crazy person like Kanye West. Oh, he's a crazy Nazi who believes all these things. So then you're lumped in with them, when in reality, it's like, no, I'm actually just seeking the truth. That's all I want. Like, I don't care about these left-right paradigm. I think that's a total shell game too, to be honest with you.
And I initially rejected the idea that Israel was involved at first, just in the interest of fairness, because, I just want to call balls and strikes here. But as time has gone on, I think it's become evident that they did have some kind of involvement. You bring up the ballistics evidence, but then also Charlie Kirk was turning on the issue. He was wrong on it, but you know what? He was turning, and the text messages prove that. You alluded to that moments ago. There were some signs that Charlie Kirk was about to make a major shift on the issue of Israel.
Well, and we see his entire organization. Let's look at the aftermath. They immediately cover up the entire area. Like, they immediately just do something weird with the area after the shooting. Then his particular organization seems to be completely hijacked and dismantled and destroyed. And you kind of have to see, like, how is that not what the agenda was? Like, they saw this, maybe they didn't even care about Charlie as much as they just saw the organization as a way for a lot of Gen Z to get together. And even if Charlie wasn't this way, the whole group was. And so they just need to dismantle this structure, because this structure is just too dangerous to them. There's so many people organizing and getting together and sharing ideas and being conservative politically, and
this was preventative in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, again, Turning Point USA is just like done, basically. It's just like gone. There's no fearless leader anymore. So it's just like, it's like, oh, it's just convenient that all these things happen for Israel, but, they had no involvement whatsoever. Like, I even think it's plausible. I don't think it's real, but it's plausible that they could get some freak or weirdo to be the shooter for them, even as, an actual gunman. I don't know. I don't know what happened. The whole thing's weird. It's confusing. But it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It's not a logical narrative. And what I kind of said at the beginning, and I know I've gone a little back and forth on, how to interpret this data, but, when it comes to the shooter himself, like, every time we've seen one of these trans shooters, they never fire one bullet. Like, they're sitting there just like a mass casualty event. They're just trying to kill as many people as possible because they're just angry with the world and they just hate everything. It's just like every other known tranny shooter, find me one where they shot one bullet. And it's just like a professional, marksman or a hitman, it's like one bullet. But it's just like anytime it's a weirdo, it's a freak. Even the guy that tried to kill Trump didn't fire once. Didn't he fire at least a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 times? I know he, supposedly shot, I think, somebody in the background, like some, person that was at the particular event, and they died. I think he died, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, what person takes one bullet? And I obviously from like the close-up footage, like you can kind of tell like it's a kill shot. Whatever happened, Charlie, I mean, the blood is just coming out. It looks like it's over instantly. But from that far away from a scope, would you really know for sure that you did it unless you're actually like a pro?
What does Holden think here about what actually happened?
Yeah.
I mean, I not to go down all these crazy different theories. I mean, for me, it certainly wasn't 30-6. I mean, that's just straight out the gate. I don't know how anybody could believe that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I don't know what you think about this, or even Pastor, but I had someone tell me that they thought no bullet was involved at all, and that it was some kind of pager attack, which Israel has done to Hezbollah in Lebanon. So they have a history of doing that.
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say. So the mic that he had, that's what Rob O'Neill, which is the former SEAL Team 6 guy who helped take out Osama bin Laden. That's what he believes. That's what he says. He says it was the lavalier mic right here. And I mean, I have footage of the different things because if it entered here, it would come out in the same way. That's why you don't see a exit wound. And that's why Frank Turek, who I believe, I could be mistaken. I don't know if he's involved with Calvary Chapel and the church in California or not. Anyways, he was one of the guys who was in the back of the car in the SUV while Charlie was going to the hospital, which again, why on God's green earth is he not in an ambulance? That is beyond me. That doesn't make any sense. Why are you calling Ben Shapiro? Ben Shapiro was the first one that talked to the team in the car when they were driving. That's out of Ben Shapiro's mouth. He says they were talking.
I want to see that clip. I don't think I've ever seen that clip.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I'll find it for you. Yeah, it is wild. He says it, and I'm like, wait, what did you say? And see, that's my whole thing. And ironically enough, Candace Owens will put out little bits of information like that, but then again, then she goes on these different tangents that then it defeats it fizzles it out on purpose, so people won't go down that rabbit hole or whatever you want to say. Like, so anyways, but yeah, he says that, right? And
the shirt thing was weird.
Smoking gun. Yeah. Why did it move? Why does it move before the shot?
There's something weird with the shirt. And again, I've never it's not like I have like a bunch of executions to like compare it to, I guess, per se. But, some of the physics seem a little off, and like when a 47-story skyscraper falls in 7 seconds flat, you kind of wonder what's really happening here. But at the end of the day, I'm not a guns expert. I'm not a ballistics expert. Me neither. So I don't really want to necessarily commentate, but I would say that it seems contrary to just common sense. It just seems contrary to just what your eyes are saying. These lying eyes. Don't believe your lying eyes here. Yeah. It's
and again, my mind directly went to what Israel has actually done
in the past. Right.
And there's documented evidence of this where they're using pagers to kill people and they just explode. And it did look very similar to what happened to Charlie Kirk.
I guess I thought a pager attack was like a bomb exploding, not like what looks kind of like a gunshot. Because I could admit, like, it kind of looks like a gunshot wound, like he was shot in the neck, but I don't understand.
No, I wouldn't call it a bomb.
This is what I've heard and what I've understood. So the whole plan was this was supposed to go into his chest. It misfired. It was supposed to explode into his chest to corroborate the 30-6 lone gunman story, right? Because you have crisis actors. I have clips of this. You have crisis actors who go on MSNBC as soon as it takes place, and they go, "Yeah, I saw Charlie Kirk. He got shot in the chest. Blood was just gushing out, right?" And she's lying there. The same girl goes on to a totally different news station, and then has to corroborate the story now and says, "Yeah, I saw him get shot in the neck, and it came out like." And then who was the guy that got up? So the same guy, I forget his name, some bald, I think he's a Jew too, actually. Shocker. Some bald man was the one who first got arrested when the crowd, because he says, "I did it. I shot him."
Yeah, that's right. That was another weird thing.
And then we all forgot.
He was at 9/11, by the way, too. Not even kidding.
Why would someone do that? like I can't even mentally assent to what would be the possible thing to just pretend like you were the one that did it or something.
Yeah.
That's super weird. And you know something else, because you're in Tennessee. What about the Tennessee explosives place that was decimated?
Yeah.
Somebody brought this up in the chat room, Saved by Faith Alone. How about the explosive place in Tennessee getting decimated too? And this is mainstream news. 18 missing after explosion in Tennessee munitions factory. This was back in October. That's a little odd too, isn't it?
Yeah, see, I heard that as well. I've heard of the whole Fort Huachuca meeting before the event actually took place. The Google search trends that were taking place. Stu Peters covered this a little while back. The Google search trends that were taking place in that area were for Charlie's whole team. His whole group was searched before this even took place. But yeah, that supposedly the area in Tennessee is where this was produced. Apparently, people actually have the order that it was. Yeah, exactly. Now it's gone. They blew up and killed everybody there.
Yeah, that's what makes it significant. Is they blew up the facility where this device would have been manufactured if it was the device that killed Charlie Kirk. Go ahead.
You're talking about the lapel mic,
yes,
which is a weapon. You're saying they have lapel mic weapons made at a factory in Tennessee?
Yes, and the factory blew up. I'm not. I'm just giving you the facts. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
You can decide to do what you want with it.
They have a contract with the militaries. Yeah. So they contracted out. And I mean, like he said, they with the pager with and it's not, what's crazy too is Netanyahu gave Trump a golden pager whenever he first went into office, which I think is pretty much just like, hey, we control you. Like, remember who's really in control here.
That is a message.
Well, I mean, was the Butler, Pennsylvania thing not a message?
That is too.
I mean, I don't even know what to think about that. Was that even real? I don't know.
That's where I have some differing opinions on that. Not that the person didn't die, but to act as if the government won't stage certain events for their. I mean, look at 9/11. My God, like how many we had the Patriot Act apparently cooked up immediately overnight, and that was signed into law as soon as that took place. But with Butler, I just find it interesting that there's rabbis talking about how that was a literally like a ritual saying that Trump was their chosen, Cyrus or whatever. And I did a clip on that some time ago, but you have rabbis literally saying that the pierced ear, it's some scripture in the Old Testament that talks about like a servant.
No, that is true. Yeah. You have to put an awl through your ear and prove that you're a servant. If you love your master or whatever. I never thought about that verse applying to that potential situation, but that's kind of crazy.
That's the rabbi that says that.
Yeah, but how does this work? Because wasn't it, I mean, we saw a guy on a roof and we saw him get blown away by the supposed marksman. So how does this work? Did Trump actually get shot, or was it just he just kind of grabbed his ear and it was just a fake thing?
I mean, the reason I don't think he got shot at or had any fear for his life is all, and I can show you guys a clip on it some other time. But the Secret Service members don't rush him off. You can literally hear him say, wait, wait, wait. And then he puts up his hand to do the whole, and then the flag lowers down. And then not only that, you have people running around the outside perimeters of his stage taking photos. I'm like, what in any real live gunfire situation, when is that ever going to be the case? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Why do they have women?
Why you would sit and wait? Yeah, why is there Secret Service? Yeah, that's the whole DEI effeminate. They must. Hey, I bet they got a spot on Odyssey. They probably got a
maybe
role on that.
Greek warriors. I mean, like everything just seems so weird because I even thought the election itself, it's just like they let Trump win. And I say let because why wouldn't they have just done what they did with Biden again? Because, I mean, they obviously rigged it for Biden. Why wouldn't they just rig it again? I mean, there's not really going to be anything anybody's going to do about it, obviously. So, I don't know. It just seems all so weird and just it's hard to believe anything at this point with our government.
So I wanted to mention one thing is the wife of the person who died that day recently did an interview, and she was questioning Trump as to why nothing's been done with the investigation. She's like, you had civilians who saw the gunman and were screaming at these Secret Service members beforehand, and yet the most trained professionals to protect the president didn't see. That's what it's very strange to me. And any narrative with the fact that we're going to sit here and believe, in my opinion, that it just grazed his ear, and he comes up and he's there's a lot to do with predictive programming too. I don't want to go down that whole rabbit hole, but there's a movie called Snake Eyes that literally predicts this whole scene perfectly. Even the Charlie Kirk thing. I don't know if you guys seen that.
It's Nicolas Cage, right?
Nicolas Cage is in it. Okay, so listen, I'll just give you the top down on this real quick because this is crazy. So, in this movie, Nicolas Cage is in this movie, and one of the scenes he is on the phone, and he's like at some political event. He's like looking around the room, and then there's some chaos that goes on because it's a shot, right? So the shot goes directly by him. He's on the phone. He like goes to touch his ear like this, and then there's blood on his ear, right, his left ear, and then behind him, the bullet goes into the neck of the whoever the guy was in the film, the senator or something like that. His name is Charlie Kirkland. Okay.
What?
And then, yeah, I'm telling you, this is crazy. So, and then on top of that, in the film, there's a fight that takes place in Trump Plaza. Okay. The date of the fight is September 10th. The name of the fighter is Tyler the Executioner.
Wow. Okay, that's odd.
Yeah. See that when I found that out, it blew my mind. And then
I'm seeing other people talk about online what you just said.
Yeah. So what for me, regardless if that's true or not, if you look, the predictive programming for 9/11 is absolutely off the charts. I mean, like
Israel had its own predictive programming for that when they introduced the 1967 coin that depicts an airplane going into towers. But go ahead.
Bingo. Yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, you even have the 5 dancing Israelis who go back to their country and they're doing an interview. I actually made this video today, and I was like, we're merging militaries with the same people who sent over 5 Mossad spies to document the events of 9/11. How do you document something
that's not supposed to?
Like, how does that work?
How do you document something that you didn't see coming?
Right. Exactly. And
we were sent there to document the event, is what they said on the Israeli media afterward.
I mean, and so that to me, I'm like, when I found that thing out about the Snake Eyes thing too, though, that kind of rocked my world too.
I found some video. I've never watched it before.
Something to consider.
There's some video where somebody's talking about it. I sent it to our crew. I don't know if we can watch it or not, but
Bro J Stu in the chat room says 9/11 and the movie The Long Kiss Goodnight. So I'm assuming there's something in there that indicates they knew about 9/11 beforehand. Or
the story of this movie will blow your mind. Let me tell you a story about the movie.
I don't think we can see it.
The story begins on a stormy night in...
We can hear it. We just can't see it. I sent some clip. I think it's just somebody like kind of saying what Holden just said specifically. I found a longer clip that has just the movie itself. I'll send him that too. Maybe we can just watch that one on mute. But this is crazy. I didn't know this. The predictive programming in Hollywood is something that I find fascinating.
Why do they do it?
I think that I think it's a bragging thing a little bit, but I've also wondered if they do this for control, because what I was thinking about is they have to constantly convince new politicians and new individuals that they are in control of everything. So I think what they do is they put these things out there so that whenever they need to control someone, they're like, hey, look at this, and then it's going to be you next if you don't do what I said. So it's kind of like a way of just putting the information out there so obvious just to kind of keep everybody quiet, keep the whistleblowers down, reduce, the headaches that they're going to have. Because, I mean, again, if you're involved in the situation, you see it in this so much out in the open. I mean, what was there, like a couple 9/11 witnesses that just happen to kill themselves and whatever. It's like they do these things on purpose.
That said they heard bombs or something.
Yeah, they want to get rid of these people. It was like, 4 Capitol policemen just decide to just kill themselves after January 6th or whatever. I mean, how does that happen?
Conveniently.
Well, they did that because they were
felt bad about
overburdened
racism
by
or
the
something?
racism, actually.
Yeah.
You racist.
I haven't heard that narrative.
Go ahead, Holden. It sounded like you were excited to say something there when I asked about why they do predictive programming.
I mean, to me, for one, I know, like, studying some of like the Kabbalah, like, rituals that they do, like it's they have to kind of show us beforehand sort of what they're doing so that they can have a clear conscience, so to speak, and like pretty much allow the deception to take place. Because I harp back on scripture where it says, my people die for a lack of knowledge. And I think a lot of these things that we deal with, certainly societally can be avoided just really by individuals getting in the word, like themselves, not relying always on someone else to tell them what to believe. But I also think that these predictive programmings, like you were saying, are just like, hey, we're running the show. Like, this is just kind of a flex. And which the new which they came out recently. I don't know if you guys heard this with the MK Ultra programs. They were talking about this in congressional hearings about how both what's the guy's name? So Lee Harvey Oswald, for one, he was an MK Ultra individual or whatever subject, which I find very interesting. And he's killed by Jack Rubenstein, which they always try to say Jack Ruby. But and then in addition, Charles Manson, that's the guy's name. So he was MK Ultra, CIA mind control program, and essentially, I just think a lot of these things, whether these individuals like Tyler Robinson are the ones who do it, I feel like a lot of these people are like activated, like they're sleeper cells or whatever you want to say, and then they're activated and able to do these heinous acts.
I want to play this clip just to corroborate what you were saying here. It's kind of interesting about this movie.
The story of this movie will blow your mind. Let me tell you a story about the movie. The story begins on a stormy night in Atlantic City. The arena is sold out, thousands of eyes locked on a championship boxing match. But the real show isn't in the ring. It's in the VIP seats. The Secretary of Defense, a man named Charles Kirkland, takes his place of honor.
Wow.
A powerful figure, center stage with cameras rolling. It feels like a celebration, until it turns into chaos. Within minutes, the unimaginable happens. A gunshot rings out. The secretary is struck in the neck. Collapsing in front of the crowd. Look closer and strange details emerge. In the opening sequence, a sign flashes with a date. September 10th, another clue carries a name. Tyler. Details that feel like breadcrumbs. The investigation falls to a crooked detective, played by Nicolas Cage, who begins to peel back layers of the plot. What looks like random violence soon reveals itself as a conspiracy, involving military contracts, corrupt politicians, and an inside job at the highest levels. Snake Eyes was released in 1998 as fiction. It is a weird feeling when you are almost convinced you have seen it, somewhere already. Has this script been used anywhere else?
Yeah,
Crazy.
Pretty interesting.
How does that even practically work, though? Was Charlie Kirk even ever in politics in 1998 or 97 or whenever this movie was?
But I don't think that matters.
How does that?
I don't think that matters.
How do we connect that?
I think that let's just say this is real. Like, let's say there was a true connection here. I think that they just simply are, scouring essentially media that they have. And then they just say like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did it on this day?" Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's retrofitting. So again, it's just they have infinite materials to use from. And again, who's making all the Hollywood movies? Of course, we know exactly who's making all the Hollywood movies. And what's interesting about these talking points is how they evolve and shift. You're bringing up MK Ultra. And
Charlie
stuff.
Kirk was 4 years old in 1998. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think that they knew that yet, but I'm just saying, like, the Illuminati was like a big thing on YouTube, kind of before all this major censorship. So this might have been like kind of before, but it's like it just died. It used to be like every video, it was all over YouTube. It was like this big talking point. And of course, the Illuminati spanned into the MK Ultra programs, into a lot of this other stuff. And I'm not even saying everything they said was right, but what I am saying is it's kind of interesting how it just immediately just like dies.
Yeah.
You can't talk about it anymore. It's no interest anymore. And this predictive programming is really all over the place when it comes to all kinds of different events that happen, whether it be September 11th or some of these kid shootings and some of this other stuff. And again, I think that it's just these people, they're not satisfied in just killing someone. They have to do it in these ways because it's not fun enough for them to just kill people. They have to do it in these creative, like secretive, occultic type ways with all of this symbolism and all this stuff. Because whether or not it's real or not, it's real to them. And then even if it's not real to them, even if they're atheist, what's real to them is the power of using these mechanisms to control people. And I think that's what they care about. They want to control people. And of course, they're pawns themselves to the minister of Satan themselves. Obviously, Satan's the one controlling all these people. But I think Satan is the one whispering in their ears. And you don't think that Satan knows about these movies and knows about these ideas? I mean, it's plausible that a lot of these ideas are just directly coming from Satan, whispering in enough people's ears to get them all talking and coming to these plans. And they think that it's actually their idea, but it's really Satan's idea. Because the Bible talks about this in the book of Revelation. The Bible even talks about how God uses Satan to basically convince all these 10 kings to then like give all their power unto the beast. So could we not like even potentially realize that maybe Satan himself is the one that's causing some of these agendas to go forward? I'm not blaming him for everything, but I'm just saying like it's plausible that he's directly involved in some of these events, and that's why they're so enigmatic or whatever. I'm saying it wrong.
Enigmatic?
Yeah. But I think it's because Satan wants to copy God, right? God has all these prophetic things and all this
That's
stuff
exactly what I was
Bible,
going to say.
The devil wants to be kind of like him.
Right. Yeah, he wants to copy anything that Christ does. And I mean, to me at this point, I'm like, I think it was a Shakespeare quote or something, but it's like, all the world's a stage and the men and women are merely players. And I'm like, if you go back in the Old Testament, you see when Moses was in Pharaoh's courts, right, and he threw down his staff and it became a serpent. Well, the Pharaoh's people threw down a staff too, and it became a serpent, right? And now, while Moses ate the other snakes and devoured them and destroyed them, the whole point is that the enemy knows how to deceive. The enemy can resemble, act, mimic, look like God or whatever the case is. That's why he appears as an angel of light. And so I think that's why he does all this stuff, make people think he's more powerful than he actually is. Like where, that's why they don't cover, in my opinion, they only cover things that they have a hand in. You know what I'm saying? Like the news media or whatever is going to fit their agenda, they're going to cover it. They're not going to cover the utter destruction going on in Lebanon. They're not going to cover I mean, look at Chicago, like the amount of people that die a day on the streets there. They don't talk about that.
There's so many angles of this that are suspicious. One of the big ones to me is also Trump himself has always been involved in these Miss Teen USA events, specifically with 14-year-old girls. And there's just so many pictures and photos and videos of him with these super young girls in scantily clad outfits. And again, this is what's in public. This isn't even what's behind closed doors. This is just what's out in the open for everyone to see. Of course, Erica Kirk herself is involved in these particular events. You don't think that they've crossed paths or know the same people or have some kind of correlation or some kind of connection there. I mean, the things are off the charts here when it comes to all the odd angles. Plus, again, her behavior. I really don't want to attack a grieving widow, but I'm just saying, like, objectively, it's really hard to just like think that she's behaved normal. And I think this is the biggest one that I would say. She's traveling everywhere and on all these shows all the times instead of like being with her kids. And you really, how can you really argue with me that she's not doing that? Like, I get like people want to make a big deal about her crying or not crying and all this other stuff. And look, I think it's all weird too, but I'm just saying, like, objectively, She's clearly just traveling all the time, not with her kids. Doesn't seem like she really cares about family. She cares more about attention. You know, a lot of women, if not most women that were in this situation, would want to get away from all media, would want to get away from all attention, would just want to focus on their family, on their kids, because their kids just lost their dad. Like, it's a sensitive time for their children. Like, I can't even imagine. Do you think your wife would want to just, you know, travel the world after you died instead of like spending time with her kids? Like, it's insane. No woman would actually have
if
that
she
kind
hated
of a feeling.
Me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if she hated you or your kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She was an Israeli honeypot.
I mean, it's hard not to think that there's something weird going on with her. She's going, it looked like on dates with dudes out at these public events and stuff. And it's just like, bro, like, well,
plus she just lies about her past. Like she literally will say, you know, I didn't go, she's like, I've never drank, and she's on a TV show where she's drinking, and then she's also says she's never dated. She's on that same TV show. It's a dating show. Like, why lie about something that obvious? You know what I mean? And so it's things like that that just make it to where it's very obvious. Sorry, my dog's
good
over here.
There was a weird interview she did with some other dude too, like in some previous TV show or something. I can't remember. Everything about her is weird. Like, it's just like everything seems out of place.
Right.
Everything about the event seems out of place. Everything about the agenda seems out of place. Everything Israel did seems out of place. Everything that Ben Shapiro said and did after this seems out of place. And, you know, even Nick Fuentes seems to be this just super beneficial person out of this entire controversy. You know, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a lot of weird, shady stuff happened. And, you know,
see, I'm weirded out that he likes that he's following this narrative. Like, that's what blows my mind, is that he's now saying that this narrative is normal. Like, we shouldn't question the narrative on Charlie, which is,
I have this
my
weird
mind.
question, and forgive me if it sounds crazy, but I'm like, is Nick Fuentes against Israel right now? I don't even know. Like, when has he even gone after them? Like, the guy was going after them so hard and saying like he loves Hitler and stuff. Like, is he even going against Israel anymore? Like, I don't even know.
I think he's kind of like that plant that you were saying, though, like that they put these people, because here's the thing, in my opinion, they see coming down the pike, they're like, okay, we're going to be doing these things that are going to be incredibly unpopular. So we're going to put these gatekeepers in these positions who will only disseminate certain positions of truth. And then once we get to the part where we don't want them to talk further, then they're not going to not listen to Nick anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
would a gatekeeper look like someone that goes to like maybe like a January 6th event, gets on a bullhorn and screams for all of his followers to go inside the Capitol, and then everyone gets arrested but that person? Like, would that? I don't know what a gatekeeper looks like. I'm just kind of curious. Like, what does a gatekeeper look like?
I mean, that would sound like one to me. I mean, he kind of did the whole Ray Epps thing where he's trying to get people to go in there. I mean, I think he's a plant just because he hasn't been. I mean, the guy's too popular, right? They give this fake come up story where they're like, oh, he was suffering, he was banned on every single thing. No, you guys are banned. Like, you're banned. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like this guy, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this guy's not banned. Like, he's seen by everybody. Like,
I mean, they put Owen Schroyer in prison, and I'm like, how did Owen Schroyer do anything more than what Nick Fuentes did? And if Nick Fuentes is truly the anti-government guy, like he's the guy they're so afraid of and everybody wants to ban and everybody's against, and he's the most against Israel and Israel's the villain, why wouldn't that have been the perfect time to bag him? Why wouldn't it have been? I mean, some January 6 people have been in prison for years. I think like 4 years or something like that. I mean, like crazy periods of time. Like, why wouldn't that have been the opportunity to bag this guy that's supposedly your enemy, that's supposedly like making this big ruckus? No, actually, after January 6th, he became one of the most popular people online, period. Like, he just basically went on every interview, which again, we say that every one of these podcasters is being paid by Israel. So why is it that Israel is allowing him to get away with January 6th, is then putting him on every single podcast, allowing him to get the most popularity? I haven't heard even any time recently he's ever said like, oh, I lost another sponsor. Oh, I lost another financial deal. Like, how is it that he's just so unaffected by the Israel narrative when he's supposedly the most anti-Israel guy and he's more popular than ever before? Like, wouldn't be this the time for them to target him even more?
Maybe it's because he's Catholic. I don't know. Maybe that's the.
That's exactly what I was about to
Owen
say.
Schler's
actually.
Catholic?
But I do think that because of Nick Fuentes, Schroyer does claim Catholicism, but he's not overtly religious. Nick Fuentes is literally attacking our friends, our pastor friend, Pastor Anderson. He's attacking the idea of salvation by faith, and certainly he definitely attacks Protestantism as a whole. So they would want somebody like that to have a platform, I think. And everything you said about, is there the possibility that this person is some kind of gatekeeper? Yes, I do think everything is spot on there. You asked the question earlier, though, is he even anti-Israel anymore? I mean, to be fair, I do think he is in rhetoric, and I think especially politically. I mean, we know. He hasn't come out and said I support Israel now, but he's definitely.
He said he was going to vote for Democrats.
He's definitely gone against the narrative that Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel, and you are right. He did state that he would vote for the Democratic Party, which
against Dan Bilzerian, who is like one of the most anti-Israel people ever.
Yeah, which is absurd. So
I'm not even pro Dan Bilzerian.
Right? Yeah, I know, and he attacks Dan all the time, man. And I'm like, we can't be sub-fighting here. Like, I get you don't have to agree with everybody on everything, but the alternative of who he's running against, Randy Swine, like, are you kidding me? That guy's. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like, he doesn't seem consistent anymore. And I almost think, like, just for his brand's sake, maybe he still has some talking points. But I'm just saying, like, does any of the actions even seem like he's consistent? And, that's why I think we need a more organic movement. I like Holden. I like other people that are getting out there, spreading the truth. We need more people doing it, not less, because the more people that are doing it, the harder for it is to control. If we just allow, like, a handful of people to be these voices, then they can switch on a dime, and then it's like, oh, we're back to square one again.
Yeah.
I kind of think like the Trump politically. Everybody kind of was like, instead of seeking alternatives or just taking the L and still just trying to get like a better political movement going, it's just like, let's just all vote for Trump and get on MAGA bandwagon. But it's like, where has it gotten us politically? I almost feel like the Republicans committed political suicide at this point. Like, at this point, like, how are Republicans ever going to win elections anymore?
Well,
I think they're going to get obliterated in the midterms. So that's for sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if they're going to stick to their ultra-Zionism, that is not popular. It is apt, especially today, especially with the generational divide that we referenced earlier in the broadcast. People have woken up on this issue. They do not want forever wars in the Middle East. They do not want Israel first. They do not want Zionism. They do not want bloodshed and murder. And if that's what the Republicans are going to go for, I agree with you, Holden. They will get obliterated in the midterms. Why don't you expound on that? Why do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, well, for one, right now, the Democrats were the only reason why the full merger with the NDAA 219 didn't happen, because they needed 60 votes. And no, I don't think any or very few Democrats went across the line and voted for that. And so that's for one. And then for two, you see how Trump's operating right now. I mean, the people in power, they everything's horrible right now. Like, we're paying all-time high for our groceries, all-time high for gas. Everything's our inflation's incredibly high. And so if they were trying to win, they've gone about this the worst possible way. I'm like, why would you not at least wait till after the midterms, then start your war with Iran, then show your true colors that you're the most, heinous, evil person that we can imagine? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and the Iran war has just decimated the economy. Gas prices skyrocketed. I actually would say it played a role in the demise of Spirit Airlines as well, which happened earlier, a few months ago. There
was a lot of factors for that one.
But to be
fair,
was
hanging on by a black
to be fair,
thread.
you could. What'd you say?
It was hanging on by a black thread there.
To be fair, you could say that it was likely going to go out of business anyway. But regardless, there have been economic ramifications to the Iran war that we felt domestically that we shouldn't have to. This is halfway across the world. What does that have to do with us? It goes directly against the America First doctrine that he was preaching on the campaign trail. So,
yeah, well, I think the only people that are going to shout, because here's the deal, like our generation and people like us, like, we just see it for what it is. We're like, okay, clearly the Democrats, we know, like we said earlier, they're an enemy we know. But with The Republicans, you were brought in to no new wars, to expose Epstein, I even heard talks about ending the Fed, like going down the whole laundry list of things that everyone has been begging for a really long time. And, it's like you haven't fulfilled any of that at all. And that's what blows my mind, is just like, that's why they're going to get obliterated, because the people who brought him into office this time, they haven't done anything for them to come back out and trust him anymore. So, I don't blame people. There's an
appetite for that campaign. Like, in a sense, like, I think Americans wanted that campaign. I just think it's like, who is that person? And again, it's obviously not someone like me. I'm too polarizing. I'm too extreme for a majority polling. But at the end of the day, like, what we do need is we need someone like me and others politically to get out there to shift the Overton window and allow for some conservative to get in there and make some difference. Because right now it's a train wreck. I don't even think anybody believes any of these Republicans anymore. Our elections just seem like complete frauds. And I think if we just allow it to just fester, it's going to get to a point where we're like a third world country, and elections are just such a joke. No one even does it. And I think that's what they want. I think they want us completely demoralized, and so they can have full control. They can just cover up the windows like they did in Pennsylvania, and nobody asks questions anymore. It's a sad day politically. It's a sad day in our country, and I wish that people would then take that sadness and recognize they need to do something. They need to get into church. They need to get into the Bible.
Yeah.
They need to expose the truth on these issues. They need to, do something positive. And again, I'm for exposing this truth, and I'm for talking about all these negative issues, but we don't want to just get so black-pilled that we don't do anything positive. And so I think sharing this information, and unfortunately sharing this information comes with its costs. Not everybody's going to get on board. Not everybody's going to like it. I'm kind of curious, me and Ben, we've faced a lot of pushback from family members, friends, all kinds of different people that we even know. Like in your circle, how do people respond when you bring up these issues, or have they seen your channel, or what is kind of like the pushback from those people?
Yeah, I mean, it has been certainly people within my family have been both ways, supportive and not. I won't go into detail on those members, but I think that has been difficult, just because for me, like, I genuinely just want the truth. Like, I'm not paid by anybody. Like, I do these for the Lord, really. I feel like he's the one who's directing me in doing these things. But yeah, I've had a bunch of people who are, it's funny the amount of, you'll start to know your friends really quickly when you start just going against the grain a little bit, and when you start feeling like God's called you to do certain things. And like I said, I started this in February. So I've had people just say, "Oh, you're just anti-Semitic. You hate Jews. All these different things," which is not even true. I love the truth, and I love Christ, and I love those who are in Christ. And if you're not in Christ, then how am I supposed to support you and consider myself a Christian still? And so that's it has been difficult, but it's also, I feel like this season in life is the separation of the wheat and the tares for me. People who I can trust. There's been some significant people in the past 6 months of my life who I thought I knew, who I thought I could trust. And that just totally, shifted. So that's actually a blessing, though.
Yeah, it can be a divisive issue. Ben, have you ever experienced any division over these issues?
Oh, not at all. Never. I've definitely been through it, and I've had people turn on me that I didn't expect and things of that nature, but that's the Christian life. And, Jesus Christ said that we should rejoice when people speak evil of us and when we're persecuted for righteousness' sake. At the end of the day, I would rather be the enemy of those who are opposed to truth if it means I get to be the hero in God's eyes. I'd rather be the villain of the enemy if it means I get to be the good guy in the eyes of God's people and the Lord Jesus Christ himself. And so if losing my reputation for the truth is what is necessary, then so be it.
The thing that pisses me off about this anti-Semitic claim is, in my opinion, you, Ben, are probably more Semitic than most of the Jews in our world today, and yet you're on my show, you're saved, you're in my church.
They call me anti-Semitic.
I love you.
It's funny.
And I want people like you to get saved. And then I'm supposedly anti-Semitic because of these much more mixed in with European Semitics, Semites, I supposedly hate because of a racial issue. It's like I don't care about race whatsoever. Like, and it's funny, like they always act like white people or we should be saving white people. And I'm like, a lot of these Jews are pretty white, I'm just like, I don't think that just having light skin magically makes you a good person. In fact, I would argue some of the worst people in our world have light skin. So, it's silly when we make these carnal distinctions. And unfortunately, because of this issue being something that's widely adopted, I mean, a lot of people are anti-Jew. They are anti-Judaism. They're anti-Israel. And so
certainly anti-Zionist, I'll say that.
Yeah, just by having that opinion, you kind of attract a lot of people. But then when you start saying, well, I'm only against them from spiritual reasons or the Bible reasons, sometimes you start to divide. You start bringing in the gospel. It's more divisive. And so, I think it's kind of a twofold, attack. And I've tried to do my best to, use online and social media to reach more people, and then, use my sermons and church to be more divisive, like obviously preaching the gospel and trying to get people saved and stuff like that. But obviously just preaching the gospel alone doesn't really reach the masses. And so I still think that these issues are important to get out there, to find some agreement, to find some common ground, and then to try to help win them over with more truth. You start with some truth, and then you start slowly, giving them a little bit more. In fact, you and I, Ben, were out soul winning, ran into a Muslim, and I kind of tried this tactic a little bit. I kind of brought up like my feelings on Israel and got his feelings on Israel and got some agreement before I continued sharing the gospel with him. Just because, I just didn't want him to have this bad taste of like all Christians are just these rabid, murderous, hateful people towards Muslims or something like that. Maybe that could soften his heart a little bit to want to hear the gospel truth. And so
it's an area of commonality.
He definitely listened to me more than he initially agreed to.
And I think you were just trying to use that area of commonality to get the gospel to the individual.
Right.
When I was in Roatan, I had somebody interrupt my gospel presentation and say, "I hate Jews." And I was just like, well, I understand why, but I'm just going to keep moving forward here.
Just give him a high five and be like, you want to listen to the gospel?
Yeah. Well, he got saved, but my point is they are contrary to all men, and I think that everybody, irregardless of how much media they are consuming, they're going to have a certain feeling about them. And it's not a racial issue for us, and people need to understand this. It is an ideological issue. They have a false religion. You brought it up earlier, where they believe in something so awful and blasphemous about the Lord Jesus Christ. It's not about race whatsoever. And if you want to call us anti-Semitic, well, what people don't realize about that is that Arabs are Semites too, and yet the same people who refer to us as anti-Semitic want to genocide a bunch of Arabs in the Middle East. How does that work? Is that not anti-Semitic? In fact, it is. So there you go.
They're more anti-Semitic than we are.
I'm zero anti-Semitic. I have no issue with anybody's race. It's just about an ideology, and their ideology is satanic, evil, bloodthirsty, blasphemous, anti-Bible, and anti-Christ.
Well, again, if you love these people, you give them the gospel.
See, and it's funny you guys mentioned that about the Muslims. I've had a great chance to share the gospel with so many Muslims because of the content that I've been able to put out. Because, for one, they actually hold Christ into a way higher regard than any of these Jews do. Like the Talmud versus the Quran treats Jesus totally different. So in my opinion, it's way easier for them to make the leap from Christ being a prophet to the Son of God than for a Jew to take the leap of Christ being in hell and being the Son of God. So that's way easier for me to make that jump. And so yeah, I mean, I actually, ironically, I actually think Islam itself was started by them to then use as they actually weaponize this to be, and they tell you out of their own mouth, like these rabbis will tell you, like, we use radical Islam to be the broom to sweep out Christianity in Europe. So
I can believe it. I definitely think that that's the reason why they're allowed and tolerated to be over here because, obviously the Jews control America. And if Islam is just so bad, why would they be allowing mass migration of Islam into America? Like that doesn't really make sense. And it was funny because I think there was a debate. It was Gavin McGinnis and Adam Green. They were like on the same team against. It was two anti-Zionists. I'm forgetting which ones it was. It was on Elijah Schaffer's show. Was it Fuentes?
I think Fuentes was one of
Fuentes
them.
And his buddy, one of his other buddies.
Other guy.
And in the middle of the stream, they like literally asked the Jew like if he was more pro-Islam or like Catholics. And the Jew's like, oh yeah, he's like more like Islam than the Catholic. And then the Catholic just like quits the debate. Like he just immediately it's like it's over, just immediately quits the debate. And it was just funny how the Jew just openly admitted that he like actually liked Islam more than Christianity, even a Catholicism version of it. Like they realize like our religion is more against their religion than even Islam is, because parts of the Quran and stuff will be like, oh, Jews are fine, like let them do their thing. I know it's kind of like bipolar as a book, but like some parts kind of.
For the whole thing with Muhammad, being a pedo, they kind of align with that too. So it's
well, that's true.
right up there.
They have a kindred spirit. Well, they're both false prophets, and so they obviously have a kindred spirit there too. They are not necessarily going to attack each other as much in theory. I think in many ways, I feel like their only dispute is just literally about land. Like they just want the same land right now. If they weren't really fighting over land, they may not actually be fighting that much because they don't really care. They're both false prophets doing their own thing. So no, it's been a great show. I wanted to kick it back to you if there's some other topic that we hadn't brought up or there was something else you wanted to discuss before we kind of land the plane.
I just want to mention very quickly that there is a significant portion of the Palestinian, not most of it, of course, but I would say, a decent amount of Palestinians that do claim the name of Christ. So it isn't like 100% Islamic, and people forget about that, but go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, is there something else, Holden, that you wanted to bring up or we should talk about?
I mean, not necessarily. Just to hit on that point a little bit, what he was saying is, you look at like Lebanon, it's what, like 40% Christian. They're destroying churches like crazy. They have no regard for anything whatsoever. And so, it blows my mind that isn't talked about at all whatsoever. Like the whole situation with Lebanon. And my thing is, I say, yeah, Israel wants peace in the Middle East. They want a piece of Palestine. They want a piece of Iraq. They want a piece of Lebanon, Jordan, go down the whole list.
Egypt.
And yeah, I mean, even
Saudi
Egypt, like
Arabia.
they're calling right now. They're literally saying they're saying, okay, one of their top Mossad spies who came over here and stole a bunch of our nuclear secrets and somehow isn't, arrested. He's sitting there talking about how the next two targets are Turkey and Egypt. Well, Turkey's a part of NATO, which is just like our ally, right? And it boggles the mind that we're allowing this genocidal death cult to literally run everything. Like, just here's the whole keys. Hey, here is the keys to the $1.5 trillion defense budget that everyone in our taxpayers pays. And not only that, now we're giving. Because I'd work a lot with, I have a lot of friends within this community that I've been able to build who work a ton with veterans, and they're the ones who are getting the crap into the stick right now, where they're not able to even, like we're literally going to be giving better benefits to IDF soldiers than we are our own veterans. That's a bill that's going to be moved forward too, which, I mean.
Well, just to comment on what you said there, Israel did predict that in the next decade or so that they will go to war with Egypt, which is insane to think about because Egypt has like a pro-Israel policy right now, and so that's why they initially retreated from their land. But when you look at the Greater Israel Project, it includes a piece of Egypt, it includes a piece of Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, all of Lebanon, all of Jordan. Right. Now, that could take, decades and decades and decades maybe 100 years. I don't know. It could take a long time for them to actually get that established. But
could it if they actually combine military forces with America?
No.
Right.
I mean, how long does it take for America to take over Egypt or just a section of Egypt? I mean, like
clearly,
didn't we have the 6 Days War initially?
Which,
I mean,
clearly,
which
they
I was
have
going to say that's even
expansionist
crazier.
goals.
They try to get us in. They try to get us in with the
number
USS Liberty.
6.
Yeah, clearly they have expansionist goals, is all I'm saying. And what you referenced there is so spot on, because people will bring up Egypt all the time in this conversation. They'll say, well, how could you say that? Israel's bombing Lebanon because of Hezbollah, but what about Egypt? Look how nice they are to Egypt.
Right.
And it's like, bro, they just said they want to go to war with them, and they may go to war
Right.
with them in a decade or so.
And then you talk about Hezbollah, right? Because here's exactly what I believe, right? So Hegelian dialect, where it's problem, reaction, solution. So they create the problem themselves. Because, like, okay, let's take Iran for instance. You look at during the 1947 or 1979 Islamic Revolution, who overthrew the Shah, right? That was totally ran, in my opinion, by the Zionists, because the Shah at that time was totally against the Zionist state of it. He was coming out doing interviews saying that America is controlled by the Zionists, like they're taken over by them. Actually worked hand in hand with multiple presidents, all the way back to forget whoever was in office right after World War II. But he worked with JFK. He worked with Nixon. Nixon actually said, and I have the video clip. I made a video on it. He's saying that Iran used to be our greatest ally in the Middle East. They were our greatest ally, and that was in the 70s. So all of a sudden, the Islamic Revolution that takes up, because this is what they do before they want to take over a country, right? That's why I was saying with Egypt, they're allies now. What they'll do is they'll just put in someone who's, quote, anti-Israel, right? He's just
As
a
a
plant
pretext.
there, right, for them to come in, just like they did with Hezbollah. Like, Hezbollah didn't exist whenever they first went into Lebanon. Like, that wasn't a thing. So they
not
weaponized
at
whatever radical group. Right. And it's just like, that's their MO. They've done it time and time
so
again.
they bring in a Tyler Robinson to knock him down, or what?
No. So originally, Israel invaded Lebanon in 1982, and they occupied the country until the year 2000. And it was out of that invasion that Hezbollah was born.
Right.
So it wasn't like Hezbollah just sprung up out of thin air or something like that. It's clearly a result of Israeli aggression. And initially, Israeli invaded to begin with to take out the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which itself wouldn't exist if they weren't slaughtering Palestinians. So it always just goes
Right.
back to the same culprit.
Right.
Are you pro-Israel, Ben?
I don't know. What do you
think so.
I mean,
I don't know if-
it's just crazy because you can't even talk about this with most people, and you can't have these conversations. They're too dangerous. They get censored. They get covered up. So, of course, whatever truth we can get out there, I really appreciate it. I appreciate, the work that you're doing, Holden. I was looking it up. You were talking about Christians in Lebanon. It's like 30 to 40%, which is a pretty high percentage. It's mostly Orthodox. It's like mostly Orthodox and then some Catholic. But I think
There's
there
independent
is,
Baptists.
Yeah, there is some other Protestant denominations, I believe, there too.
Yeah.
They're just in a small minority. But again, that's just the world. There's always the truth is always gonna be a minority. The remnant is gonna be a minority. But in general, just their disposition against Christians as a whole is worrisome. It should be something that Christians actually take seriously and wonder, like, oh, if they're targeting the Orthodox, would they do the same thing to me? Would they do the same thing
Exactly.
to, the Protestants? Or why are they okay killing Christians in this country and then they wouldn't in our country? Why is it they're fighting Muslims in the Middle East, but they want to import them mass in America?
Exactly.
Is there any consistency in anything? And it's just, I don't know. I kind of wonder like how close to the end we could be getting. My personal opinion is that Islam will be the boogeyman of World War III, and that they basically just want to get enough Muslims everywhere to just piss everybody off to where we're all just like, please end Islam. And we're just so fed up with Muslims that we're basically willing to let the Antichrist take over. And that's kind of my personal opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how I lean.
I
Americans feel
see
like
that. I see that because, if you look at Albert Pike, I don't know if you've studied much of him. He's a 33rd degree Mason. He literally gave you the script for World War One, II, and III, and the reasons behind it. This is in like 1870s, I believe. This is actually one of the only videos that I did on Instagram that was taken down by Instagram. So if that shows you anything, and but he gives you the whole script. He said World War III will be just what you said, which will be that the Islam will be the boogeyman or whatever you want to say, and then that's because like the purpose of World War One was to get the Balfour
Well, they're
Declaration.
a perfect boogeyman because number one, they're like low IQ. Number two, I mean, especially from all the incest and everything that's going on. Number three, they really don't have like a military advantage whatsoever. And number four, they pretty much are just universally hated by everyone. Like it just, even though I understand the Jews are hated, it's like Muslims are a close second, if anybody is, in the sense that just like people just don't like Muslims. They don't assimilate. Most other groups, like I don't like Hinduism at all either, but they do kind of assimilate more than even the Muslims. They'll become doctors and lawyers and do this stuff. It's like the Muslims, they have to have their own restaurants, their own halal meat, and their own, weird stuff that they're doing, weird garb, weird clothes. Like they don't really seem to blend with societies, and they build their own little communities. They're trying to have like many countries everywhere else. They're like the barbarians used to take down the Roman Empire. And I feel like it's kind of the same with America, that they're being used as a vehicle, barbarian hordes, to just basically weaken America. And they will be eventually taken out and punished by God for having, had the wrong gospel and not accepting the free gift of salvation. Not to say that I hate all Muslims. I obviously don't. But again, it's a false religion. It shouldn't even be in America. Right. It's crazy. No. The escalation rate of our country's downfall is just so fast. But I do see a lot of people getting the truth out there. I see a lot of people getting saved. I think this is a great opportunity right now to get a lot of people saved. America is not my home. I'm just a passing through. So while I love it, I love America, I love our country, I love Texas, I want to keep fighting for it. At the end of the day, we're supposed to fight the spiritual battle. That's the more important thing. I love my family, but I love my spiritual family more. And, I appreciate you coming on the show. You should check out some of our other material. We've got a movie. We got several movies you can check out. If you go to godresource.com, they're free. It's a platform I built in response to being banned so many times. And so you can check out some free documentaries on there. We made a movie called The Preserved Bible. It talks about where the King James Bible even came from, where the English Bible came from. It's pretty educational. So if you like to learn about that subject, I'm sure you'd enjoy it. We've got two other movies, Sodomite Deception, pretty popular considering the fact that it's banned everywhere. And then if you really want to spice it up, we got LGBT Terrorists, another film we made. So one of my friends has some movies of his on our platform as well. Did you ever see Marching to Zion?
I don't think so. Maybe clips of it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
You can find that online for free. You pretty much just search. You can probably find it. It's a good movie. Great movie. Don't you like Marching to Zion, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic film. It goes over replacement theology, so it's going to give you a biblical perspective, but it also does talk about the nation of Israel itself, its history, and why Christians, in fact, are not obligated to support it, despite the fact that a lot of churches teach just that. And it goes through and it does talk about also where Zionism even came from a religious perspective, and the introduction of John Nelson Darby's brand of dispensationalism and how that really popularized it and poisoned all the churches and things like that. So I think it's a great utility to understand this from more of a spiritual perspective.
Yeah, we're hosting a conference in Connecticut, the Make America Straight Again, in August 6th. I think I'm going to try and do a show. We'll try to do a show soon about that, Ben. We'll bring on Pastor Anderson, who's also going to be preaching out there to promote it. Maybe we can bring on Pastor Corbin Russell. I know he's coming out for the event as well. We can go out there and promote in Connecticut the Make America Straight 2.0, another big conference. So, and if you want to check out Holden and his information, pretty much just Holden Under the Truth. It's got a couple underscores there.
Yeah, it's just,
At Holden
on the Truth.
Is there anything else you want us to point to or link to?
No, honestly, that's great. I really appreciate this opportunity, guys. I'm excited just because I feel like God is moving. I know the enemy has his plans, but I one thing that's kept me hope is it talks about has no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind can fathom the good things that God has in store for those that love Him. And so while a lot of people may be viewing the world as doom and gloom right now, and certainly the information is there to support those types of things, I just feel like we always have our ever present help with Christ, right? And He's always our ever present help in times of need, regardless of what anybody's going through. That's really what I always want people to know. Like, besides the conspiracy stuff that I like to talk about, or all the different things, I want people to know they can have a personal relationship with Christ Jesus, and that He will be there for you regardless of what storm you go through. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And yeah, He's my everything. He's the reason why I'm able to find truths. He's the reason why I'm able to let people know about Him and be bold and courageous in speaking. So again, thank you guys for being bold and courageous as well. I know it comes with its costs, but our home isn't here, and our treasures are stored in heaven. So
thanks again for coming on the show. Thanks for chopping up one of my clips, putting on your channel. I enjoyed the clip.
Oh man, I'm gonna do. Hey, buddy, there's more coming. Trust me. It seems. I love what y'all say, man. I saw that one on Twitter, and I was like, let's go. I finally found somebody who's speaking out. So I was happy to see that.
Yeah, we should. I want to take what we said on the show tonight and splice it up with, if I can find that Fuentes clip that you said. Or no, Ben Shapiro clip. I'm sorry. You said there was a Ben Shapiro clip where he's claiming that he was the first call. That's bizarre.
In the car.
Find that.
Yeah, he's the first call in the car and has direct. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. His and I can let y'all go, but my dogs need me too. But that's the whole thing, is that he's in the car, and that's the first contact you have. And his security team was all former IDF, a lot of them with the IDF. Like, I don't know.
I think you should do another one on the Snake Eyes thing. That was interesting. So
yes, yeah,
that's crazy. I hadn't even heard that before. So I actually learned a lot on the show tonight. So appreciate the truth. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks, Ben, for being here. Anything last you want to say here, Ben?
Just appreciate the chance to be here on the Baptist Bias and using this platform to spread the truth. And I just want to invite everybody listening to this right now, share this on your social platforms, put this on Facebook, put this on your X account, Instagram, do whatever you need to do to share this podcast, because I think it's an important tool to help people understand the truth on so many issues. But of course, this one, it's important right now. There's a lot of brainwashing going on about Israel and its role, and whether Christians should be blessing this Christ-hating nation or not. And I think this podcast can help people understand what's really going on, and maybe even guide them to Pastor Shelley's preaching as well. And that is really the ultimate goal, is have people start off with the podcast and maybe end up actually being fans of the preaching later.
Yeah, it's important to talk about these issues, and we've covered a lot of ground. Again, the most important thing, of course, is getting saved, hearing the gospel, believing in Jesus Christ. If you like the show, you can always subscribe to our email list, baptistbias.com/join. It was up there on the channel. Check out Holden. But most importantly, if you don't have it already, you need to get it, The Baptist Bias.